Are you worried about the rising inflation and its unbearable impacts on your financial position? Well, what if I tell you that you can make wealth out of devaluation of money and rising prices? Doesn't it sound interesting? Let me give you more details. If I ask you ways to make money, you would give me a list of different things to pile up your fortunes. But I doubt that you would include inflation on the list. Wait a minute, isn't inflation supposed to be bad, which devalues your money? The answer is yes. Inflation devalues the money. However, you can use this devaluation process to make more wealth. For an average middle-class individual, unending inflation is an unavoidable financial liability. For the rich, inflation signifies an opportunity to make more money. In this video, I'll provide you with 5 ways to use inflation for making money. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon to stay tuned for more daily updates. Almost daily updates of amazing videos that could boost the pace of your success and wealth. So the question is, what is inflation? Before I suggest you ways to use inflation for making money, let me first explain you the entire concept of inflation. I know you would have had a general idea about inflation, but let me briefly explain how it works. Inflation is the sustain that lowers the purchasing power of money. For instance, your grocery bill keeps increasing by a small percentage over time. You now have to pay more money for the same amount of goods that you used to buy earlier for lesser money. This is inflation. Now, if you want to make money out of inflation, you need to understand 3 financial phenomena that cause inflation in the first place. Demand pull inflation. This phenomena occurs when more money is available in the market. This is a byproduct of governments printing more money for policies or financial commitments. Availability of more money means that the people have more money to spend on their purchases. For instance, you might have heard that the US government is printing trillions of dollars in form of stimulus checks that other government programs. When people have more money to spend, the demand increases. Sometimes the supply cannot be met on equal grounds, ultimately leading to an increase in the prices. Cost push inflation. This financial phenomena occurs with increasing product costs. Consider the limited supply of natural resources like lumber and its impacts on the business, like real estate. With soaring prices, the value of even basic houses have gone skyrocketing. The rising prices have not increased, only the input costs, but the values of already built homes have increased likewise. Built-in inflation. This phenomenon is simply like you expecting to get a raise in your income, with time I mean. However, this turns out to be a double-edged sword. If your employee has to pay you more, the only way to make a profit is to increase the prices, which ultimately leads you to demand more income, and the process continues with unending inflation. Built-in inflation is one of the main reasons that the price of goods keep rising. So you might now have more grasp on the idea of different phenomena causing inflation. I'll explain to you the way to make more money out of rising prices. Number 1. Know the severity of inflation. You should know that inflation is experienced by even Tom, Dick, and Harry. You're not alone in this unfortunate experience. However, you need to use the situation to your advantage. But how do you do that? Well, firstly, you must know the severity of inflation. You see, there are different levels of severity of inflation. An aggressive form of inflation is when the value of your assets does not increase with the soaring prices. That way, you are left poorer over time by inflation. To be able to make profits out of inflation, you need to know when you're in its presence. Depending upon the severity of inflation, there are different speeds of inflation. Being fully aware of the type of inflation will certainly help you to cope with it better than others. So the first category of speed of inflation is creeping inflation. Not the kind of creep that you're thinking. Creep inflation occurs when increasing in price is less than 3% per year. Ideally, the governments tend to keep inflation less than 2% to avoid any economical political uncertainty. Believe it or not, most of you are living in a creeping inflation age. The second category is walking inflation. As the name suggests, creeping inflation learns to walk at this stage. This occurs when the increase in prices by 3% to 10% per year. This is the stage where people begin to hoard products to gain profits in the future by stocking. However, the tricky thing about the walking inflation is that it is a slippery slope, as it can easily turn into a worse kind of inflation. With the increasing demand for the products during walking inflation, the prices of goods can soar in an uncontrollable manner. This is what you call galloping inflation. At this point, the inflation rate is 10% or even more. Galloping inflation is where the real trouble begins. This can bring political unrest in a country when the people start to question the efficiency of decisions made by the political leaders. Galloping inflation is a disaster for a state's economy since it results in foreign investors' loss of confidence in the market. The final stage of inflation is hyperinflation. At this stage, the prices of goods skyrocket more than 50%. This state is an ultimate disaster for a state's economical system. But don't worry, this type of inflation is rare. The last time the United States experienced hyperinflation was during the Civil War. So you do not need to worry much about it. Now you know about inflation and its works, you can manage your financial decision wisely. Unlike most people who find it troublesome in making both ends meet amid rising prices, you are someone who knows how inflation is affecting your financial position. Rather than buying unnecessary things to soothe your emotional problems that actually worsen the situation, you are now able to read the signs and make yourself the due profit in time. Number 2. Assets management by tackling your variable debts. Asset management is a way to combat inflation effectively. For that purpose, you first need to manage your debt properly. Well, you should know the interest rate is directly affected by the inflation rate. Amid the rising inflation, the interest rate increases as well. Specifically, variable rates go upward with rising inflation. For instance, if you have a variable mortgage, paying down your mortgage can protect you from sudden inflation. If you have a fixed mortgage, you're not invincible to inflation either. With a fixed mortgage rate, the deal is locked for one specific period. When the term ends, renewal in the big deal brings renewal interest rate as well. Damn it! To avoid high interest rates, go ahead of your debts if you see an unusual hike in the prices. Number 3. Avoid holding cash. You already know that holding a huge sum of money in form of cash will ultimately lead you to lose money over time. And God forbid, if the inflation rate is high, you will lose a considerable amount of fortune in no time. You should hold cash for only emergencies. You do know the reason, right? Holding money in banks with no return simply implies that your money is losing its value over time. And before you know it, you are much poorer already. The higher the rate of inflation is, the quickly your money will lose its value. Rather than holding cash for a long period, analyze the situation. With rising inflation, stock market experience, tumbling prices, makes it high time for you to buy your favorite stocks. By investing in such a time, you can make great returns on the recovery. Number 4. Investing your money. Another way to make a profit during the inflation is to invest your money. I'm not sure if this suggestion suits you well or not. Well, most people sell their homes during inflation since they're able to pay their mortgages. If you're someone holding cash, get yourself into a profit by buying assets like a house, which will not only generate passive income for you, but will increase in value with time. In other words, inflation will work to your benefit under mentioned circumstances. And finally, number 5, income management. When most people are satisfied with an annual raise of 3%, which is a generous raise by the way, think of other ways that can help you make a profit. Since you already know enough about inflation, you're smart enough to make the calculations. If under the ideal situation, the inflation rate per year is 2%, it means by a 3% raise in your income, you are only getting 1% more money. The smartest way to get profit from inflation is to get motivation from it. Rather than taking a sigh of relief over a 1% increase in income, consider generating passive income where you at least have a little bit of control over changing circumstances. In this situation, it is pertinent to create active as well as passive source of income to make profits. For instance, freelancing or maybe working on YouTube might be a solution for you. Nevertheless, you have a plethora of options from which you can generate more income even in the face of inflation. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit the like button and make sure to subscribe for daily, well, almost daily similar videos. The videos that'll help you to have a great and wealthy future. See you soon.